Hello, dear students and esteemed learners. Welcome. Welcome to my course on Sociology of Health. This is lecture number 50, and in this lecture, we are going to talk about occupational health major concerns. And this would be the last course of this week. This is the course for the 10th week, and in this week, we are broadly discussing the theme around health of children and other vulnerable groups. So, we talked about health of children, and then we talked about health of the elderly person. Elderly persons are basically a vulnerable group because they are witnessing several issues and challenges from the society, and at the same time there are they have certain limitations and restrictions because of certain issues developing with age and time. So those challenges create some kind of vulnerability. So very often, the vulnerable groups are also identified as the disadvantaged groups or the marginalized groups. So, basically, all these nomenclature suggests that there is a kind of susceptibility or vulnerability related to the health issues. Then, we also talked about the persons with disability, and then in this lecture, we are going to talk about basically the occupational health or health issues of the occupational groups. In this lecture, we will try to cover good number of topics like need of studying occupational health, then International Labor Organization's views on occupational injury and disease, then we'll try to define occupational health, and then we'll try to identify major issues also, and the basic principles for successful occupational health, then factors and hazards at the place of work, and measures for the promotion of health of workers. All these issues we will try to understand, and of course this is a big topic, an important topic. There are so many issues and dimensions related to that. Technically it will not be possible for us to talk about all these topics within this one lecture, but we will try to understand all these dimensions related to the problem, so that we can have our understanding at a comprehensive level. And if you are interested in exploring this topic further, or any of the dimensions that we will discuss further, then of course you can explore that. I will provide you some of the recommended reading also, and then these are basically available. Good number of articles and are available in the WHO and ILO websites that I have referred to also, right? So with this understanding, we will try to understand this issue of occupational health. Now, according to World Health Organization, occupational health deals with all aspects of health and safety at the workplace, with a special emphasis on primary prevention of hazards. So, at the outset, it is clear that when we are talking about occupational health, we are talking about the workplace, and the approach is basically prevention of the hazards, right? So, the workplace is basically not a uniform thing in different societies. The context related to workplace will keep on changing. The formal uh, sector and the informal sector have different types of workplace. The organized sector and the unorganized sector have different type of workplace, and so with this situation, the concept or implication of occupational health will keep on changing, but that is a broader understanding. The health of the workers has several determinants, including risk factors at the workplace leading to cancer, accidents, then musculoskeletal disease, respiratory disease, hearing loss, circulatory disease, stress related disorder, communicable disease, skin related problems, and good number of. Basically, you think of any workplace or work situation, and then you can identify. For example, if people are working in industries and the industries are having the components like chemicals, then you can understand that what kind of exposure they may have and what kind of impact they could have. Then a particular industry which is basically dealing with you say some kind of gases, right? And when the workers are exposed to those gases in the industry, then what kind of problem may happen, you can imagine. So all these things basically we will try to understand, but here what we are trying to understand is this, that what do we understand by occupational health and why do we need to talk about occupational health. Employment and working condition in the formal and informal economy embrace important determinants such as working hours, salaries, workplace policy concerning maternity leave, health promotion benefit and protection provision, etc. That means depending upon the kind of society it is, depending upon the context basically in which the things are happening, the definition and the scenario will change. Safety and health of workers has a positive impact on productivity and economic and social development. This is something that we all understand. So, if the environment at workplace is good, then certainly the output and the productivity will be good. And if the environment is unsafe for the health of the workers, then it will certainly have negative impact in the production process also. International Labour Organization basically has tried to understand these situations related to occupational injury and disease. According to ILO estimates, every year over 2.3 million women and men die at work from an occupational injury or disease. This is a huge number. Over 350,000 deaths are due to fatal accidents and almost 2 million deaths are due to fatal work related disease. So ILO has given an estimate, and this estimate suggests that there is a very big number, a huge number who are basically getting very adversely affected because of the occupational injury and disease. And further, it is mentioned here this, that in addition, over 313 million workers are involved in non-fatal occupational accident causing serious injury and absence from work. So there are two situations. There is a fatal injury that basically is a serious blow, end of life is there. But there are, on the other hand, a non-fatal injury, but those are also damaging in the sense that after having those non-fatal injury, very often people are not in a position to work again. So in either situation, the workers who get affected by those occupational injury or disease are the worst sufferer or victim. And so we need to understand the situation at a larger level, and so that we can think of having the right kind of intervention, and we get to know that what kind of provisions have been made by the society to make an improvement in the life of the people who are working in those environments. Then ILO further says that these estimates imply that every day, approximately 6,400 people die from occupational accidents or disease, and that 860,000 people are injured on the job. Furthermore, as estimates show, work related diseases represent the main cause of death at work, killing almost six times more workers than occupational accidents. So, this is a larger picture prevailing at the global level, and this helps us to understand the importance of the topic occupational health that we need to talk about. Then there are basically institutes and associations which have developed all over the world, who are interested, who are talking about, and who are basically taking care of the research as well as statistics related to this, because somehow they are in working in alignment with the interest of the workers, like International Commission on Occupational Health, or in India we are having the ICMR, National Institute of Occupational Health. So there are international and national level bodies other than the World Health Organization or International Labour Organization, who are basically looking at the thing. Now, we need to define basically, because we can talk about the problem or the issues only when we have a specific definition. So, there is one international labor organization and World Health Organization committee, joint committee on occupational health, and basically way back in 1950 it defined occupational health by explaining its aims. So defining the concept by giving or defining the aims so that we can agree upon the things and we try to understand. According to this definition, occupational health should aim at the promotion and maintenance of the highest degree of physical, mental, and social well being of workers in all occupations. So, what is stated here that it intend or it aim at promotion and maintenance of highest degree of health in all occupations. So, irrespective of the occupation the person is engaged in, the person is entitled to enjoy the highest level of health because that is a right of the individual in a individual capacity as a human right. Then the prevention amongst worker of departure from health caused by their working condition. Then the protection of workers in their employment from risks resulting from factors adverse to health, and then the placing and maintenance of the worker in an occupational environment adapted to his physiological and psychological capabilities. And to summarize the whole thing, the adaptation of work to man and of each man to his job. So basically, when we talk about occupational health, then we try to locate the individual in the larger environment of work. Now, the question is this, that whether the individual is required to fit into the larger environment or the larger environment should be made as per the uh, requirements of the human beings for their comfortable and healthy stay so that they can work in a healthy environment. So, the summary says that the adaptation of work to man and of each man to his job. So, basically, both type of adaptation is required here. So, when we have this kind of situation where both way adaptations could take place, then we can say that this is more congenial or convenient for maintaining good health in the work environment. WHO is implementing a global plan of action on workers' health, and it is endorsed by World Health Assembly. Now, Tillman has defined occupational health as the maintenance of the individual worker's state of well being and freedom from occupationally related disease or injury. So, Tillman has given a very simple definition. Occupational health is defined as maintenance of the individual worker's state of well being. So no matter how that well-being is maintained, but that well-being need to be maintained, and for that the right kind of environment should be there. And freedom from occupationally related disease or injury, and there should not be any occupation related injury or disease. So if these two conditions are met, then we can say that this is a good occupational health condition prevailing over there. Then, what are the major issues basically related to occupational health? Now, Guidotti, in a publication which basically got published in 2011, talks about the major issues related to occupational health, and the issues basically include the health risks that workers take to earn a living, then the consequences to their families when workers become ill or injured, then the cost of providing benefits and a wage replacement to workers who are injured, the cost of providing medical and rehabilitation care to injured workers. So, when we look at the issues related to occupational health, then according to Guidotti, the major issues are basically related to the wages, then the cost of treatment, and then the taking care of the dependents basically. So if all these issues are resolved appropriately, then the issues related to occupational health could be uh, addressed properly. That means, first, the environment or the work environment should be appropriate enough that there should not be any adverse impact. And if unfortunately, under certain circumstances, that is happening, then uh, the institution or the uh, organization where that is happening, that should take care of the medical needs of the person as well as the needs of the family or the dependent. And in case there is a serious injury or impairment, then whatever the financial requirements will be there, those should be taken care of. If these issues could be addressed, then the occupational health needs have been considered to be addressed. Then the hidden cost to healthcare system of illness that are not recognized as occupational, especially those that take a long time to develop. The loss of productivity that results from avoidable injuries and illness, the financial loss to workers and their families from a prolonged illness, the social management of risk spreading, for example, by workers' compensation or other insurance plans, and then management and minimization of the risk of disaster. So then all other aspects which are related to the 4 or 5 points that we discussed earlier, these are all basically interlinked. So because if there is an injury and if the treatment is taking a longer period of time, then the problems will continue to be there. And for that matter, if certain things are happening which could have been avoided by taking proper care of the work environment, then those issues need to be handled. So now, on the basis of basically whatever understanding we have developed, we can think of talking about basically the basic principles for successful occupational health system. And there are certain principles which have been identified, and if we try to understand those principles, then we get to understanding that if certain principles are followed, then the situation could be improved. The cases of occupational injury or disease could be minimized, and whenever such exigencies could be happening, then the situation can be further improved upon by applying these principles, right? So Guidotti basically has identified some of these principles, and according to Rantanen, there are 5 basic principles which have been identified as a basis for successful occupational health system as determined in a World Health Organization Euro survey. Right. So, what are these principles basically? These are actually protection and prevention, then adaptation, then promotion and development, then cure and rehabilitation, and primary health care. So I think we are aware of all these concepts. We do have a fair understanding. The only thing is this, that we need to apply these concepts or these principles in the specific work environment. Depending upon the kind of work environment it is, there will be application of these principles. For example, protection and prevention. So if the workplace is an industry, then the protection and prevention will be of different type. And if it is actually a construction sector where buildings are constructed, then the prevention or protection will be of different type. And if this is related to a kind of a small industry which are basically taking place in a small spaces where the rooms are not having any ventilation, or where the quality of air is not very good, etc., then the prevention and protection would be different. So that way we can apply the principle in different situations. Then adaptation, basically adolescents and young workers, pregnant women, handicapped worker, aging worker, migrant worker, and workers with the chronic disease may need adaptation of working method or work environment, because people work for earning livelihood. Now, even if a person is suffering from certain problem or ailment or certain life situation, but if that person is basically willing to work to earn the livelihood, then the environment should be basically such that he or she should not get adversely affected by that, and so a kind of adaptation should be there. Then promotion and development. Optimally organized work can have a positive effect on workers' health and work ability. This principle has become especially important for industrialized countries given their attention to maintaining work ability in aging workers, ensuring their continued participation in the workforce. So, when the population is basically aging and still they are continuing to work, then they have certain other types of requirement also, and those requirements basically should be taken care of. And we all understand that with age and gender we have a specific requirement, so those requirements need to be understood in the work environment. Then cure and rehabilitation. So yes, if there is any problem, then there should be an appropriate mechanism of cure, and then after that basically a rehabilitation is also required. And finally, the most important thing that we have been talking about is the primary health care, because that is basically giving us a good kind of coverage in every situation. So no matter which work environment we are talking about, if there is a good facility of primary health care, then that will help us a lot. So in every work situation there should be appropriate facilities of primary health care. Now depending upon the kind of and the nature of organization, the facilities required would vary, but yes, this is very important. Then basically we need to talk about the factors and hazards at the place of work also, because very often the factors or the hazards are actually common, and those are basically very predictable also. But because the industries or the institutions keep on working in those situations, so those hazards are continuing to be the threats. So we will try to understand at a very elementary level these hazards, because we can understand this at this level. So Park basically has identified these factors in his book Preventive and Community Medicine. So that book is has tried to understand the issues related to health and healthcare from community medicine perspective. This is also a popular book. Now, Park has identified the physical factors like noise. Noise is basically creating some kind of disturbances, and when someone is continuously exposed to very high decibel noise, then that is creating several kind of problem, maybe fatigue or maybe even hearing loss kind of thing. Then ultraviolet radiations, these are basically very problematic. There is a huge threat when there is an exposure related to this. Then extreme climates like heat and cold, these are also very problematic. And then sometimes the workers are exposed to excess light or heat radiation or vibrations and ionizing radiations, etc. All these are basically physically hazardous, and of course those are affecting all other aspects of the health and not only the physical aspects also. Then the chemical factors, basically number of chemicals which cause several complications like skin problems, then cancer, then ulcer, etc. So these basically there should be some kind of understanding about these hazards, right? And then there are biological factors, then physio-social factors, and occupational hazards of the agriculture workers. All these problems are basically related with the immediate physical environment in which the worker is working, and these are actually identified as hazardous industries. So we know about those industries where these things are there, or which are basically identified as hazardous industry. So these factors are very obvious, these are very well known, and these industries are also categorized in that specific way. But however, there should be appropriate uh, work environment for the workers who have to work in those. For example, mines, those are having the specific type of situation. But the threat or the hazard is not unknown, that is known. However, despite knowing the hazard, certain accidents keep on happening. Why? Because despite knowing the hazards, the appropriate steps have not been taken. So it's not about not knowing, it's about knowing but not executing the necessary, not taking the necessary steps. So we need to understand that it's not just about the factor or the hazard, but it's also about having a proper implementation and execution plan. So these are the things that we can understand here. Then measures for the promotion of health of workers. There can be good number of measures which we can talk about, which could be very helpful in promotion of the health of the workers. And ILO and World Health Organization basically have identified certain measures. For example, nutrition. Yes, we all know that nutrition is very important for each and every individual, and persons who are working in a specific environment may have some kind of uh, negative impact of certain things that may make them nutrition deficient also. And if that is the situation, then they need some kind of extra care. But otherwise, good nutrition is giving good immune system, and the body can fight with the disease causing agents. So nutrition is very important. Then communicable disease control, we have been talking about controlling the communicable disease. And when the work environment is such that good number of persons are working in one particular situation where the concentration of people is high, then in those situations the exposure to communicable disease can create huge problem. We have seen that during COVID, but before that also, at the time of industrial revolution, basically we have seen the onslaught of communicable disease, and those things basically were happening because of the new type of work environment and the new kind of living environment, right? So the nature of the problem is also depending upon the kind of environment which are coming into existence. And then environmental sanitation. Yes, we talked about sanitation, and we all by now understand how sanitation is important for protection from communicable disease, and often for the non-communicable disease also. So health education is also necessary, and then specific measures for women and children, these are also necessary. So whatever is basically applicable for preventable disease kind of thing, these are applicable in occupational disease kind of thing also. And that is why Park in his book has also mentioned that when we are talking about occupational health, we are also talking about actually a preventive medicine, right? Because we need to take care of the things by which we can prevent the occurrence of the thing. So occupational health is trying to look at the work environment and health of the people or workers from that preventive medicine kind of approach. But it is not necessarily remaining confined to preventive medicine only. It is going much beyond that, because it is also talking about the changes in the environment. Preventive medicine is talking about basically the kind of adaptation that the individual need to have, right? The kind of prevention that the individual need to take. But we need to look at it from the perspective that the work environment also need to create the things as per the requirement of the workforce, because the workforce may include women now, and women do have basically sensitivity related to a good number of other things also, not only the physical environment, because the work environment should be safe for them, right? And then there are a specific requirement when the women are having some kind of maternity experiences also. So we are talking about the larger work environment which is affecting the health of the person. And when we are talking about health, then the mental health is again very important, because very often there is a kind of conflicting situation, unnecessary pressure, or some kind of mental torture, then some sort of violence also. Then all these things basically create mental health issues, and we need to talk about all these things when we are talking about basically the occupational health of the worker. And one or two important things that we can also add here, that nowadays basically there are lifestyle diseases kind of thing which are occurring. For example, obesity or diabetes or basically cardiothoracic problems. Now, in the service sector, we have not included the service sector till now. In the service sector, altogether new work culture has emerged where people are actually sitting and then performing their job, right? Just like me sitting and delivering this lecture for you now. Now, when this kind of lifestyle is basically getting caused, then that is also creating certain limitations in terms of physical activity, and that is having severe complications. And in that situation, people may have some kind of exposure for obesity, and for that matter, some sort of problem related to diabetic, and then sometimes also related to the cardiothoracic concerns. So we need to make the work environment uh, to take care of these kinds of uh, lifestyle situations also, so that people feel more at home and comfortable at the place of work, and they can adapt the lifestyle as well as the work situation, keeping in mind their health requirements. So, this is all that we wanted to discuss on the issue related to occupational health. Yes, of course, we have discussed only few things, because this world is having hundreds and thousands of different work situations, and so the occupational disease or occupational health related requirements of all those work situation could be different. But I hope that after having this discussion, you will get an idea about how to look at the problems related to this, and that was the purpose of this lecture. So thank you very much for being with me, and we will meet in the next class with a new topic. So till then, take care.